We begin at Derby Midland Station as we follow the Derwent Valley line to Matlock. East Midlands trains currently operate services along the Derwent Valley line, and here we see a Class 156 entering Derby before leaving for Matlock.
Will be the 12:53 cross-country service to Reading. Oxford and Reading.
Shortly after leaving Derby, the train approaches Duffield. Passengers can alight at Duffield for the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway. The Ecclesbourne Valley Railway operate heritage trains between Wirksworth and Duffield. Here we see a diesel multiple unit arriving at Duffield Station. Heritage services are timed to connect with East Midlands trains at the adjacent Duffield Network Rail platforms. It is now possible for passengers to travel to and from Wirksworth by train from anywhere on the national network. The train departs from Duffield and heads for Belper. Five minutes later, the train arrives at Belper. Shortly after leaving Belper, the train leaves the Midland Main Line at Ambergate. The Ambergate to Matlock section is single line, and the driver gets out to collect the token for single line working before heading off to Matlock. Next station along the line is Wat Standwell. The train now enters Cromford station. As the train leaves Cromford station, it enters Willersley Tunnel, which is immediately north of the station. The tunnel is 764 yards long. As the train exits the tunnel, it enters the picturesque Matlock Bath. The station buildings at Matlock Bath are in unusual chalet style, inspired by the romantic notion that the resort was England's little Switzerland. As the train leaves Matlock Bath, it passes through the High Tor Tunnel before arriving in Matlock Station. Trains terminate at Matlock before returning to Derby. The next section of the railway is operated by Peak Rail for a distance of 4 miles between Matlock and Roseley South. Here we see the Peak Rail steam train entering Matlock, platform 2. The Peak Rail trains entering Matlock Station are top and tailed because there is no run-round facility at Matlock. Class 31 31270 departs from Matlock for Darleydale and Roseley South. A few hundred yards from Matlock is Matlock Riverside, once the termination of all Peak Rail trains until the extension into Matlock was opened in July 2011. The train now approaches the picturesque Darley station, where trains can stop in both directions. The station buildings on the up platform house a waiting room and small museum which illustrates the history of the former Midland Railway main line. North of Darley is Church Lane Crossing. The train now arrives at Roseley South Station, which is the northern terminus of Peak Rail's operations, and lies almost 1 mile from Roseley village. It has always been, and still is, the aim of Peak Rail to restore the line between Matlock and Buxton. The lines end at Roseley South, so let's take a look beyond as we follow the route of the railway northwards towards Buxton. This is the view at Station Close, Roseley, looking northwards. The station was where the orange van is parked. Adjacent to the Grouse and Claret Public House in Roseley, a new bridge will have to be built over the A6 in order to connect the railway to the former trackbed that runs through the Duke of Rutland's estate and then on to Bakewell. The station in the small market town of Bakewell was opened in 1862 and closed to passengers in 1967 before being closed completely in 1968. The station has survived closure more or less intact. However, the footbridge and ridged canopies over the platforms have been removed, and industrial units now occupy the goods yards to the north of the station. The gap between the platforms has been filled in to accommodate the Monsell Trail. The Monsell Trail now runs along the line for 8.5 miles between Coombs Road, Bakewell and Blackwell Mill near Buxton. Just north of Bakewell is Hassop Station, which closed for passengers in 1942. The station buildings now occupy a bookstore, restaurant and cycle hire establishment. The next station heading north is Great Longston, which closed to passengers in 1962. The station building was designed to complement the nearby Thornbridge Hall. Located to the south of the village, the station also served the village of Ashford-in-the-Water. Shortly after leaving Great Longston, the scenery alters dramatically as we pass through the Headstone Tunnel into Monsaldale. Headstone Viaduct was built in 1863 and is 300 feet in length with 5 50-foot span arches. When standing on the viaduct, you would be 80 feet above the River Wye below. The station at Monsaldale was located on the south side of the River Wye at Upperdale and closed to passengers in 1959. The station closed completely in 1961 after the last Ramblers special. Whilst considered part of the landscape today, it was seen as destroying the beauty of the dale when it was built. Climbing northwards, there are 2 viaducts at Millersdale. The southernmost was built when the line opened, but increasing traffic meant that a second viaduct, parallel to the first one, was opened in 1905. Millersdale was originally 2 platforms plus a bay for the Buxton branch. When the second viaduct was completed, 2 platforms were added, making a total of 5. For such a rural location, Millersdale Station was unusually large. The station closed in 1967, but trains continued to pass through until the line was closed in 1968. Beyond Millersdale, the branch deviates from the main line to Manchester at Millersdale Junction. Further along the line, a small station was built at Blackwell Mill, which was for railway workers at the nearby cottages. Just north of Blackwell Mill is Buxton Junction, where the line is still open and is used by freight trains that serve quarries in the Buxton area. The line then crosses the A6 and enters Ashwood Dale. Approaching Buxton, the line bears to the left towards the site of Buxton Midland Station. The original bridge over Bridge Street was removed after the line closed, but Peak Rail replaced it in 1990. What remains of the station site sits above the wall of the supermarket car park. The station was situated just to the right of the remaining station where the road now runs. There is generally an hourly service between Buxton and Manchester Piccadilly, and here we see a Class 150 Sprinter arriving at Buxton in April 2017. Today, the viaducts at Monsaldale and Millersdale stand as silent monuments to Derbyshire's lost main line. Perhaps in the not too distant future, they will once again be used for what they were intended, and steam will once again return to Buxton Midland Station.